You now know what the product backlog is. The master list. Everything your team could work on, ranked by priority and owned by the product owner. But here is the thing about that list. It's long. It's a very long list. And it has to be. Every idea, every request, every improvement that product owner approves sits there waiting its turn. You cannot work on it all at once. You should not even try. So every sprint, your team pulls a small portion of the top, the highest priority items that the team believes they can finish in the next 2 weeks. And that small portion has a name. It's called the Sprint Backlog. The Sprint Backlog is your team's commitment for this sprint. Not everything the team could do, just what the team agreed to deliver. Think of this way, the product backlog is the menu, and the sprint backlog is what you actually ordered. And once you order, the kitchen starts working. You do not keep adding dishes mid-meal and expecting everything to arrive on time. And that boundary matters. The product backlog can have 40 items on it. The sprint backlog might have 6. And those 6 are the only things your team is focused on for the upcoming sprint. When someone walks up to you mid-sprint and says, "Can you also handle this?" You already know the answer. That request goes to the product owner to decide. It goes on the product backlog, and the team decides whether it enters a future sprints. It does not quietly join your plate without anyone noticing. The sprint backlog is also where your work becomes visible. In most teams, this lives on the board with 3 columns: to do, in progress, and done. Every item from the sprint backlog starts in to do. When someone pulls it, it moves to in progress. When it's finished, it moves to done. And that board is the sprint backlog made visible, and when the daily Scrum meeting happens, it is where the team looks at it. It tells you where the work stands without anyone needing to explain it. Now, here's the second concept where the real confusion lives. It's called increment. What is that? What is increment? The increment in Scrum is the sum of all product backlog items completing during the sprint combined with everything the team delivered in every previous sprint. It is the cumulative. Each sprint adds to what came before, and every piece of it must be completed, usable, and ready for feedback. So let me make that concrete. If your team published a campaign brief in Sprint 1, built a landing page in Sprint 2, and delivered 3 blog posts in Sprint 3, the increment after Sprint 3 is all 5 of those pieces working together, not just what you finished this sprint, okay? Everything the team has built so far, live and usable. Not drafts sitting in a folder, not documents waiting for approval. And that word done causes most problems on non-technical teams than almost any other word in Scrum, because done means different things to different people. Okay, so let me explain. In marketing, is the blog post done when the draft is written, when it's edited, when it's published and live on the site? In HR, is the job posting done when it's drafted, when it's approved by hiring manager, when it's live on 3 job boards? In operations, is the new vendor checklist done when you write it, when the compliance team reviews it, when the first vendor actually completes it? So if your team has not agreed on what done means, every sprint review will feel like an argument. One person thinks they finished, The stakeholders disagrees. So what happens? Trust erodes. This is why Scrum teams define their definition of done, usually in some kind of document, before they start working. It is not complicated, it is a short agreement that usually says, for work to count as done on this team, it must meet these conditions. In marketing, done might mean copy is written, reviewed, approved by stakeholders, and published, not just written. In HR, done might mean job posting is drafted, approved by hiring manager, and live on all required platforms, not just drafted. In operations, done might mean the process document is created, reviewed by compliance, and tested with one real case, not just created. When the team agrees on this upfront, two things happen. First, sprint planning gets more honest. You stop committing to 10 items when you realize that done requires more steps than you thought. And second, the sprint review becomes straightforward. The work either meets the definition or it does not. No debates, no surprises. Think of the sprint backlog as the plan, the definition of done as the quality bar, and the increment as the finished result. Those three concepts work together every sprint. The plan tells you what to focus on, the quality bar tells you when it counts, and the increment is the proof your sprint produced something real. Okay? Output that someone can use, review, or build on. When you pull an item from the sprint backlog, your job is not just to work on it. Your job is to move it all the way to done. And if you realize mid-sprint that your definition of done requires a step you cannot complete alone, say that in daily Scrum meeting. Don't wait until the sprint review to discover it. Here is a quick tip you can use. Before we commit to this item, can we confirm what done looks like so we all agree on what we are delivering? That question prevents the common source of frustration in non-technical sprints. Ask it once, and the team will thank you for it. Okay, so here's a small assignment for you. And please, make sure you do all these small assignments. They have a powerful compound effect, okay? And by the time the course is over, if you completed every one of these small assignments, your skill level will be higher than you can possibly imagine. When it comes to learning, only learning by doing really matters. Okay? So here's what I want you to do. Set up a simple 3-column board for your current work. Physical or digital, it does not matter. 3 columns: to do, in progress, and done. And take whatever you are working on this week and place each item in the column where it belongs right now. And then ask yourself, for each item in the done column, would your stakeholder agree it is done? If the answer is no, it's not done yet, move it back. Okay? That's it. And also download the Sprint Board Setup Guide. It walks you through setting up your board step by step without visual examples for marketing, HR, and operation teams. Bring it to your next sprint planning meeting. A board that the whole team can see changes how the team works together. Okay, now you know where the work lives before the sprint, what your team commits to during the sprint, and what done actually means. Next, you will learn how to write the items that go on that board. User stories, translated for people who do not build software. Okay? I'll see you there.